Hi and happy spooky season. Okay, I realized that I have been gone for so long on this YouTube channel, and that also all I be posting is Stardew Valley long play live stream videos now. However, I did say that this channel was about making art and playing video games. So that's my excuse. That's my excuse for the last, 5, maybe 6 videos being Stardew Valley gameplay videos. But Stardew Valley is so much fun. Plus I like being on live and playing it that way. I've been doing a lot more Tumblr live. It's a cool, chill group of people, and it's fun. But I've been doing a lot of Tumblr lives like that, and just like sometimes I'm like making art on there, and sometimes I am playing video games and just having people to talk to while I do things is fun. So yeah, but one of the things that I have been having a hard time doing is posting onto this YouTube, and I want to apologize for that. I think it's just one of those things where it's like I started off with drawing on this channel, but honestly I don't draw that often. I sculpt way more. I should be very specific. I make a lot of like 3D sculptures a lot more than I like draw, and so if I'm not in the mood to draw, then the drawing turns out bad, and I don't want to have to force the art, you know what I mean? But that's why I was just decided I will spend more time that I would spend more time just like uploading my sculptures. So here's the first one. Right now I'm making a little ghosty ghost, but this is actually just a detail for a much larger sculpture. So one of the things, or my sort of dream job, or a job that I want to do eventually, I don't know if I believe in the whole dream job thing, but this is a job that I think is so cool and I would love to have, which is being a toy designer, or like a doll, like one of those fashion doll designers. I would love to work on like a toy line, a blind box line, a fashion doll line, whichever one. It's definitely a goal of mine. So obviously I've got to build up the portfolio. So I do a lot of the like just come up with my own toy lines and stuff like that. And one of them is this like little guy series that I have, which is basically like little guys in costumes. I'll upload some example of that onto the screen. But yeah, that's essentially what I do. That's essentially what most of my 3D sculpturing work is. It's just making little figures and toys. So I'm working on a new little guy, but this new little guy is spooky season themed, and the costume is a ghost, but it's like the bedsheet ghost, because I always think those are so, I love when I see little kids in the little bedsheets. I'm like, oh my god, they're so DIY, homemade. Love it. And it's so adorable, especially when I trip over it. I know that I feel like that sounds so mean, but I don't mean it in a mean way. I think it's cute. So yeah, I decided to do a little guy in a ghost costume, but the ghost costume is made from a bedsheet. And so right now I'm just working on the little tiny ghost that's going to be on the base of my little guy sculpture. I also add pumpkins, but we'll get to the pumpkins when I get to the pumpkins. So this is the base. This is my little guy base that I use. I'm just like clearing some of the things from it. And then I like move the hand so it's like out front, because I've seen a lot of kids do that when they have the bedsheet. They'll like put their hands out front in front of them. So I wanted to do that too. And let me just say, so for this actual sculpture, I didn't do this, but in my dreams, like if this was an actual toy, it would the bed sheet would actually be removable, and then you would see the little guy underneath, and I think that would be such a cool idea. But I didn't do that for this one. I did hollow out because one of the things about Nomad, when you like have a shape, all of the shapes come like filled, if that makes sense. I don't know if that, they're like a solid piece, so you have to like hollow it out essentially. So I did that, but technically it's not removable just based on the way it was sculpted. But I figure if this was a real thing, it might be the bedsheet part would probably be made out of some type of rubber, and there'd be like a slit on the back of the bedsheet so that it's removable or something like that. I don't know. I'm talking as if though this is an actual thing and it's not. It's just a toy design, which actually I have to discuss, because if you saw, I basically just like copied the head and stretched everything downwards. And I know the folks who be dealing with typology and remeshing is screaming at me right now. But personally, especially when it comes to my Nomad sculptures, topology is not something I worry about. To be honest, if I am not animating or printing it out, I do not care about the topology. So yes, the topology on this is probably disgusting, but that is why I do not check it. Yeah, there's a way to like check things, you know, go into wireframe mode and then you can see it. I don't check my topology, to be honest. I never check it. If I don't have to, I'm not seeing it. But honestly, as like a 3D modeler, my best practice is just trying to keep it as simple as possible. I try not to, one, because it will probably crash my laptop if I have anything that's like over 100,000 vertices or whatever, but also that means I don't have to worry about topology if I want to like animate it, or usually not necessarily, but every once in a while when I try to like rig something and the rig is not rigging because the topology is terrible. But for the most part, yeah, topology is not my strong suit and it's not something I care for, so I try to keep my sculptures as simple as possible, and it works for my art style. I think my 3D modeling art style, well, I should say specifically nowadays, is definitely a lot more simpler and lots more cutesy. So yeah. Oh, one thing I actually wanted to talk about was Nomad versus Blender, and I think because Nomad is so new, I feel like there's a lot of people who don't know about it, but I feel as though Nomad is so much better if you're trying to learn how to sculpt. Blender is just not intuitive for sculpting, personally. That's what I think personally. Like, I've been using Blender since I was in grade 7, but I would say I started really understanding how to use Blender probably like 5 years ago. So even though I've been using Blender for over a decade, it took me 5 years to truly learn how to use it. It took me a minute, I won't lie, it took me a minute. But everybody goes at their own pace, gosh, don't judge me. But I even now, when I would say I'm like pretty decent Blender user, like, you know, most things in Blender don't confuse me anymore, I would still say that it's so not intuitive for like, it's Blender is not a sculpting place. I'm not gonna hold it to you. It's not, at least to me it's not. I think Nomad definitely is, but I would, and on the flip side, Nomad is definitely not like a rendering or like a hard sculpting, really like anything super realistic. I don't know. I have seen some videos where people do the super realistic stuff in Nomad, but Nomad is truly just for like sculpting. It really is. You know, there are workarounds around such things, but Nomad's not for anything besides sculpting. So, but I like using the two in conjunction to each other. I find, but like I was saying, I find sculpting in Nomad so much easier, and it's definitely helped me improve. I can't prove that by this sculpture because this is a very simple looking sculpture, but I swear I swear my sculpting skills have definitely improved since learning Nomad. But yeah, honestly, if you ask me which one's better, I'll just say get both. Blender is free and Nomad is like $10. Get both. But yeah, that's my little comparison. That's my little talk on the two and how I feel about it. I did hear that there is like an app version of Blender in the works, which I am actually excited about. Whoa, that was a long pause on the screen. I'm not sure why, but I am actually excited by having an app version of Blender. I want to see if having the app version of Blender will maybe better the sculpting practice, or even just have me use Blender more often. I feel like there was a time in my life where I was using Blender like every single day, but well, that was very specifically when I was like learning how to use Blender and just, you know, getting better at the craft. But and I had like a more realistic style back then, so it made sense to use Blender as often as I did. But now, because I don't have a realistic style, plus I'm very busy and always kind of on the go nowadays, I find that Nomad is my go-to like 3D software, because I can just grab my tablet, put it in my bag, and then when I'm commuting, do it there, because I take the bus everywhere. So yeah, that's like another benefit. But I'm waiting for this Blender app because I will definitely be downloading it. So now I'm just working on the pumpkin, and the pumpkin took me a minute to figure out. One, I had to like figure out how to do the multiple lines of symmetry, but that was relatively easy. And then I like was struggling on how to hollow out the actual pumpkin. So as I was saying earlier, all the shapes in Nomad come solid, so trying to hollow this out so it looked like a jack-o'-lantern was kind of difficult, although I didn't put any lights inside of the pumpkin, which was something I was planning to do. And then like I finished and completely by the time I finished, I completely forgot to add the lights, so that's not in this video or in the final render, but it was supposed to have lights in it. But yeah, so it took me a second to figure out, but the line of symmetry thing was relatively easy. But yeah, it took me a second to figure out how to hollow out this pumpkin. And can I just say, I really loved the way I did the stem. The stem was fun. I'm glad that they added profile to tubes and curves. They didn't have this before, or maybe if they did, I just never saw it. But I've had Nomad for at least 2 years on my tablet, and I swear that profile, it was a newer thing. Like I didn't see profile until maybe I don't know, like 6 months ago. That's when I discovered it, at the very least. So yeah. Yeah, now I'm just coloring it in and stuff. I feel like I kept the colors kind of muted on this pumpkin, but it doesn't really matter because once I turn everything to unlit and turn on that bloom, it's all bright and pastel-y. I don't know why I said it like that, but yes. So I was drawing the face in, had to break the symmetry here, you know, just to give it a more pumpkin-y feel. And I've got to say, I don't know, I feel like my pumpkin face could have been better, you know. The face was, it was traditional, you know. It was cute and traditional, but I feel like I could have done a better job with the face a little bit. But as you can see, my many attempts to hollow out this pumpkin starts now. So the first thing I tried to do was like extract it and then use that extraction like merge it with the actual pumpkin to cut away, and it worked, but again, solid piece. So then I was like, okay, let me just duplicate this pumpkin and then hollow it out that way. It did not work either. So finally I just went on YouTube, you know, found myself a nice tutorial that made sense to me, and did that. And that tutorial was really helpful. So what I learned was that yes, I tried trimming as well, but trimming doesn't work that way. The problem with trimming was, one, it was kind of like just a straight hole through the entire pumpkin. But yes, so basically you draw the face, you invert it, and then you extract, and you keep that extraction and hide the original, if that makes sense. Do you see what I'm doing on screen? Yeah, that's how it's done. I didn't know that, which, like, I was thinking about it. I could have used that for my ghost as well, the ghost that I made at the very beginning of the video, and I was like, but the more you know what I mean. Yeah, but I honestly, I was laughing at myself earlier because I realized that I had come up with like a whole bunch of silly solutions, and this was probably the easiest one, and it was one that I could not think of. I had to go online to see it. But that's the problem when you're so like hyper focused, or like, yeah, when you're just hyper focused on something, because then you can't even see simple solutions. Whatever. But I made a second pumpkin with just an O, which matches the face of the ghost, and a little bit of my little guy. But yeah, this is we're coming to an end. This is really like last minute, just playing around with how they look together, you know, trying to add all of the small tiny details. So you can see I added a second smaller pumpkin, and then I'm just like playing around with the colors. So this was what I was talking about, like once I added everything to unlit, the pumpkin looks a lot brighter, everything's a little bit more pastel. Yeah, these are all so cute. I think I could probably make the actual ghost, the small little ghost, I could probably make that into an actual sculpture, like a, but yeah. I don't know what, anyways. Yeah, this is it. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you in my next one, whenever that is. If I'm being honest, I will not maybe making any more promises, but bye. Thank you.